And we're alive, I think.
We're alive.
We're alive. Hello.
Microphone's working, I can see.
I can see. Yep.
Hope you guys are all doing well on this Friday night. I'm Jenny.
I'm Paul.
And we are with GoBox Art Crate. For those of you who are just joining in because you found us on YouTube or you've got your very first box, this is what we do. We are a subscription box.
This is what we do, and we're going to show you how we do it.
And there's 2 projects in each monthly box. It comes with all the supplies, and we guide you step by step through each of the paintings. Tonight is the Cardinal. That's the first painting for the January 2023 box.
Yep.
And that's what I'm going to be guiding you through. And then next week on Thursday, same time, 5:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Paul will be guiding us through his winter field. We did design them to go together. We like to do that once in a while. And you can put a little red bird in the trees on Paul.
Yeah, for sure. I'll show you guys how to do that.
Yeah, I was thinking when he designed his first.
Yeah, which is usually it's the other way around.
Yeah. And so I thought, I'll just make a close-up of one of those branches.
Yeah.
Put a cardinal in it. I wanted to put a red bird. I was going to use a scarlet tanager, but they're not winter birds. They fly away. And I knew it was going to be a winter scene, so I had to do a cardinal, which is totally fine with me. They look very similar. They just have that pointy cone head.
So we're to 2023.
Yeah.
That means in September, GoBox will be 4 years old.
It's crazy. I can't believe 4 years old.
It's amazing.
Hi, everyone. Oh, all of my regulars are here. I love it. Nice to see you guys. Kim, Debbie, Joanna, and Hamster Eats Cookies. I like that. That's fun. So let's go ahead and zoom in.
Let's do it.
And I'll show you the ropes. Or the brush strokes.
Yeah.
Move my phone out of the way. So colors this month, we have black and white, turquoise, raw sienna. So this looks very similar to a color called yellow ochre. You can use the same one and substitute. And then just bright fire engine red. This is a blue-based red. I prefer that. It makes a better pink than like an orange-based red would. And we were laughing because we didn't pick these colors using any specific, this month we do these colors. But we realized that these are almost identical to the colors we used last January, which was the elephant and the winter pond painting. The only difference is this was phthalo red instead of bright red, and so the phthalo red right out of the bottle looks a lot like that. But other than that, I guess these are our winter colors.
Yeah.
I do love these. I love raw sienna and red for a winter sky. It is just so pretty. It's so much
I could honestly say
color.
That out of all the colors that we ship out, if I were going to pick like a go-to color palette for myself, this would be it.
Yeah. Yeah, where's Daniel?
So I got a message from Daniel. He's not feeling... There's been a lot of crud going around up in the Portland area.
Yeah, you'll hear Paul
You
cough.
will hear me.
He sounds like a barking seal.
I was really sick about 2 days ago and feel much better today, but Daniel's not feeling well either. So, and I haven't seen him, so it's not like we passed it back and forth or anything.
It's just going around.
It's just been going around. Our son brought it home, and
Yeah, from there.
somehow you dodged it.
And Greta.
And our daughter dodged it.
It's a boy cold. Okay, so when you get the box, you get the instruction sheets, which show the detailed step-by-steps. These are all the pictures I take as I design the painting. And with instructions, as many instructions as we can fit, and usually they're 2-sided. I'm going to follow along with these. I might switch some of the things time-wise, just depending on how the drying time works live, but I follow them pretty close. So with your first brush, you get your 4-pack of brushes. These are great. The largest brush is about a 3/4 inch wide. And then most of the time we use these two. So we've got a 3/4 inch wide brush, and then this number 8 is about a 1/4 inch wide. You can use your own set if you are painting along with your own supplies. Let's take this biggest brush to start. Go ahead and dip it in your water cup, swish it around back and forth, loosen up those bristles, dry it on the paper towel that you have, hopefully, or paint rag. Hopefully you guys all had amazing holidays.
So Daniel messaged me to say hi to everybody, but he's just not feeling up to it. I feel that. I understand that. 2 days ago I was like comatose on the couch, so I get it.
So white paint, white canvas, kind of funny, but we actually need this to start. We're going to paint in where the sun goes, and starting with this white paint will allow us to have that brightness in the sky. We'll go back and recircularize it, if that's a word. Go ahead and make a like golf ball size loose circle. Don't worry about it being perfect because it's going to really get blotted out.
I would say that's more handball size, but
Yeah,
that's okay.
Yeah, you're right. This is a very large golf ball.
Like a kid's kit, maybe?
So now we want to mix our sky color, this one right here, and the colors I like to use, I'm going to scrape off a good glob of white, mix a little raw sienna in there till you get a pale beige, just gradually, a little at a time. And then the next thing we do, I know on camera, at least on this monitor, this looks pretty light, but it's actually got a bit more gold to it in live. The next thing we're going to do is put a little touch of pink in here that's going to turn this to be very, very pale orange. And you want to use the corner of your brush and pick up the tiniest little dot of red. You can see on my brush, I just have this little dot. Go ahead and stir that in there. It'll make a little bit of a difference. And if you want to add a little more, you can. Later on, we add this extra blush pink in the corners. Okay, let's take this color. We're going to go around our sun. Just really lightly brush across your sun so that you're kind of slightly smearing that white, but not moving it completely out of its place. We are going to cover about down to here, so about 2/3 of the canvas. Brush strokes you can do up at an angle like this. That makes a nice sky, or you can kind of flip your brush all around and give the sky a little bit more movement. I know that's what Paul likes to do. And then if you are ending up with a sky that's maybe too all one color and you want to change it up a bit, you can be a little bold and grab some more red, maybe mix it in some corner of the paint here, and just streak some of that in there. And just sort of blend it in. Don't worry if you accidentally obliterate all of your sun. We'll go back and add that back in there, but this is a nice tone for setting the bright red bird on top. They all just sort of tie in together. Another thing you can do, you can take the corner of your brush and dip it just in this raw sienna.
It's a little bit CPR dummy color right now.
CPR dummy. It wasn't her name Annie?
Chris Clean at our
Chris Clean, that's
Chris
right.
Clean
Chris
is who
Clean.
we had.
I think ours, for some reason I think we had one called Annie. But I mean, that's been like, I don't know how many years ago, high school. Too many years. 30.
Mark wants to know if your watch is tracking your brush strokes as steps.
I've wondered about that. I think it does sometimes, because a lot of times I'll look at it at the end of the night and I can get real OCD about how many steps I have in. I have to just kind of make myself not look at it. I mean, when I first got the watch, it was more like that. But now it's kind of, oh, I can ignore this, no problem. But I've wondered about that. It's like, oh, I did a bunch of painting today. Does that track this movement? Every once in a while, you can dip your brush in white if you wanted to maybe add some light, thin, wispy, wintry clouds.
I don't know how you can wear your watch on your right hand.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. I can't imagine wearing it on my other hand. How weird.
I've never seen a right-handed person wear their
Look
watch
how my
on
watch
their right
matches
hand.
my painting. That was planned.
Well, you know what's interesting is the color I was shooting for in my sky, and I described it in the instructions, was rose gold.
Yeah, this is rose gold. And in fact, I designed my painting at home while Paul was at work, and I texted him to ask him, hey, what colors did you use for the tree line? What colors did you just verify? I like looking at the painting and trying to guess the colors, and I did it right with the sky. I was like, hey, I know he used all three of these colors.
Well, you know me well.
I do know you well. I'm gonna mix a little more pink in here just to add a bit more interest. Now a lot of this down here gets covered up with a tree line, so if you wanted to like practice, like, oh, what would it look like if I added some of this down here, that's a good place to do it. And then you'll know that what it would look like if you added it up here. Now I'm just going to, this looks pretty good. I definitely look like I have two suns going on though, and that'll change, so I'm not going to worry about that. But I will add maybe a bit more raw sienna. Oops, that was too much.
Everybody's still talking about your watch.
Paul got me that for, gosh, was it like our anniversary last year?
Yeah, I think so, for our 25th.
Yeah.
And it's funny, neither you nor I have ever been watch wearers.
No, this is the first watch I've worn in years.
I got the Garmin watch, fitness watch, last year. And it's like, it's just so, like, got used to it so fast.
Yeah, the only thing I wish with Apple Watches is I wish you had an option for a round one. Because I realize that, like, the screen is a lot easier to read on a square one. But
There's my round one.
Yeah, see, I like round watches better. For me, they're more aesthetic.
I'm a fan of the Garmin, but it's more of a fitness first.
Okay, now what I'm going to do is I want to check and see, do I fix the sun first? I don't even know if I mentioned doing that again. If you need to, oh, we've got autofocus going on.
Autofocus going on.
Mm-hmm. If you need to fix up your sun, wash your brush. Dry it off real good. Don't let any extra water hang out there. And just pick up a little white. Start with a little bit. You can see I don't have a ton on the brush. And just kind of round that out. It doesn't have to be perfectly round. You can see my original. It's not a perfectly round sun. It's kind of one of those skies which I call a watercolor sky. I feel like the skies in winter, up here in Oregon at least, in the Northwest, they look very watercolor.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's just the lighting and probably like the distance from the sun and all that.
It's also because of the latitude that we're at.
Yeah, that. So now what I want to do is I want to take this and I added some more intense pink in the corners. And I just like the way that sort of frames the painting together. So you're going to use your beigey color you made here in the middle and just add a bit more red to it. Probably make something similar to this, maybe a little more red. As intense as you want it to be. Just remember that if you start off with it being too intense, blending it in can be kind of hard. But what you can do if you want it to be a really intense reddish pink, just wipe your brush off on your paper towel before you touch it onto the canvas, because then you'll have less paint to try to blend in. So I just work from the corner and I'm just sort of working down at like a 45-degree angle. And you can see that's a very minimal change. So I'm going to add a little more red, maybe a little more raw sienna. It's just going to turn it to be a slightly more coral.
I see that Kim and Joanna are talking about fall detection with the Apple Watches. And I saw recently somebody was talking about the Apple Watches as being a great gift for elderly parents.
Oh, hey. That's
because nice. It's like the same, it does a lot of the same things that, what was that old, I've fallen and I can't get up.
Yeah.
You know, Life Alert does.
Life Alert, yeah.
Yeah, and it can actually, I think you can actually program it to alert. I don't know for sure, so I should probably say
neither of my parents would be able to figure out the technology.
Just be like, here, just wear this and just, make sure it's charged. It'll send us a message.
They're getting pretty good with the cell phones, but they definitely have a lot of questions. Luckily, my brother's kind of a tech nerd, so he goes out and helps them out. So you can see I have a bit of a line. I want to blend that in, and blending this down is not necessarily going to be the look that I want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this wheat gold color up just a bit. So a little bit of paint at a time. Wash your brush, dry it off real good.
Okay, so it says they can call your emergency contacts and call 911.
That's so cool.
See, that's awesome, and that's get everybody. We are not paid by Apple, but if you have elderly parents you're concerned about, I think it's a good investment for them and for you.
So I remixed. Yeah, I don't know why that keeps auto-focusing. Do we normally have it on auto?
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
Maybe your head's popping in.
That could be. Okay, so I'm going to go in here with
Sputnik.
the beige color.
Heed.
The beige color here, and just kind of glaze over the edges of the pink. And if your pink was too intense and you want to soften it down, you can glaze over the pink with this color too. But here's the difference between the two. You can see one is definitely way more intense, like this one here. I've got some real dark spots. This one is a little more blended. I have a little more of the raw sienna in it, so this looks more of a light bubblegum pink, and this is more on the slightly coral side. Either way works. No way, neither one is wrong. It's just the way the painting ends up in the end. I really loved seeing all of your guys' snow globes and gnomes that you painted.
Those
I
were
see
fun
a
last
lot of
month.
you just really, like, you had some downtime maybe and just ripped out a bunch of paintings, which is awesome. I hope that felt really good.
Seemed like a lot of our teachers had some time there around the holidays where they knocked out a bunch of paintings.
Yeah, a lot of our people who are customers who are teachers. That's right. Okay, so we are going to mix this lavender tree color. Let's have a look at your winter field, Paul.
Oh, okay.
So Paul's, I think, is a cloud line.
It could be either.
When I designed mine, I wanted to design it as a tree line, and so I asked him the colors he used there because it's a really muted, almost gray lavender on his.
Mm-hmm.
Mine, I didn't tone it down as much, so you can see the difference. This is it's definitely lavender tone, but it's a lavender gray, and mine is more of a pinkish lavender. So the color that's going to tone it down, if you want more of the gray tone, is raw sienna. So keep that in mind when we're mixing. I will tell you the
Can I
colors.
talk about raw sienna for just a second?
Okay.
So raw sienna, the reason
As long as you're quick.
Yeah, I'll be quick. The reason I like it so much, especially in dealing with doing landscapes, is while it looks gold and yellow, it is technically a shade of brown. Mm-hmm. And so when you use it to mix with other colors, like when we mix it with turquoise, for example, we don't get a green necessarily. It might take some greenish undertones, but it's very definitely works more as a toning agent than it does creating like intense greens.
Yeah.
So it makes for a nice
toning
warm
agent.
Yeah, it makes for a nice warm color like yellow does, but without the effects that yellow has with mixing with other colors. So there you go.
Okay, so the colors we use to make lavender, which is what we're going to mix first, and then you're going to decide for yourself whether you want to tone it down or not. So we are going to mix white and red. We're going to make a light pink, and then we're going to gradually bring in some of this turquoise, and that's what's going to make it turn lavender. So let's scrape off a little white. Use the corner of your brush, pick up a little red. So I'm going to make kind of a bubblegum pink.
Kim says to see. She was having a stroke and had to call her husband to go home. Wow. Oof. That would be very handy for having something like the...
Someone had that, use the watch for that?
Yeah. Well, they could.
Oop, got glare going on. Okay, so here's my Barbie box pink color. Now you can scrape in a little turquoise. And it's going to turn slightly grayish, but it's working its way towards lavender. And then once you get that, you can play around with it. If you want more of a pink tone lavender, you'll add red to it. That's really pretty. I really like that. Now this, if you are going to tone it down so you have more of a slightly grayish tone, this is what you'll use, the raw sienna, but very little, because a little bit goes a long way. I'll mix it in the edge. You can see the difference.
Yeah, it doesn't take much.
So here, it's not a huge difference unless I keep adding more in there. And you can see this definitely takes on more of a gray tone. This one's a lot more rich and vibrant. I tend to like rich and vibrant. I'm just going to mix these two together so that I've got the best of both worlds. I'm probably going to run out of paint.
You are mixing it up like crazy tonight.
Yeah, I always make giant
Going for it.
puddles. I'm really messy with my palette.
You're not eco-friendly.
What?
I'm just kidding.
Speaking of eco-friendly, let's talk for just a minute.
I thought we weren't going to talk about that. Not that way.
You probably saw this new box in your shipment and thought, where's the cute blue box? We thought that as well. We tried a new company that had a shorter lead time because the other company, although they make a beautiful box, they are not necessarily the best when it comes to lead times. And when you've got, lots of boxes to ship out at a certain time, it can be it explains the little bits of gray hair I have coming in, waiting for those boxes to come in. We are not happy with that box. It's not well made. There's a lot of issues with it. It's not super attractive. And so we are going back to the blue ones, but it's going to be a redesign.
Yeah.
And they're super fun and cute. Can't wait till we have those. Don't know if they'll be for February shipment. Probably more likely March, but...
Yeah, you might get I'm just going to be honest. We might end up getting a little bit of a hodgepodge of boxes
next month.
Next month. And we'll probably reserve the printed boxes for brand new subscribers just because...
Because you guys know
we've already won the rest of you over with our... we don't have to impress you with the box as much anymore. But, yeah.
Let me talk about what I'm doing real quick, then you can go back.
No,
so I'm just kind of creating sort of pointy, hedgy, shrubby tree shapes. Kind of like you're looking at a landscape and your vision is blurry because you don't have your glasses or contact lenses in, or you're just squinting at it. So all you're really seeing are the shapes. You can build it up high on one side. Like I have it pretty high behind the bird because I don't know why I did that. I like the look of it though. I guess my natural art person and liked that.
So people are talking about the boxes real quick, and I'm going to be just totally 100% candid right now. When we first started the business, I think we even used the free boxes that the USPS.
No,
we did
we
that.
Thought about it. We may have done it once.
We did it a couple times, but the USPS just wasn't good to work. But we were just using plain boxes, and we would get
people would get so mad.
People would leave reviews and complain that they didn't feel like the quality of the product was worth the price. We changed the box and we haven't had a single complaint.
No, and I get it though. Once I got the new box in, the blue one, and I packaged it all up with the tissue paper, I was like, I get it. It's like getting a gift, a gift that you bought yourself.
I get it too. But it's just one of those things that we don't oftentimes, because we've never really dealt with packaging with the studio, we didn't have to worry about it. And so we just never really thought about, the package that it comes in is a big part of the equation to people. So
I'm just kind of swirling my brush around with barely any paint on it around the tops of these trees. And some can just come up to little points, like they're some kind of those funky trees. What are they called, Paul? Those ones that grow and like people cut them and kind of like, they look like weird dinosaurs.
Like arborvitaes?
Yeah, the arborvitae, that's what they are. And you can leave little holes in the background with the sky showing through. You can bring this down. We want to bring this down to about within an inch or so of the bottom. I do want to get some nice wet paint down in here, which is going to help our turquoise blend. So I want this paint down in here to be fresh and not dry yet. So I'm going to dip the brush in turquoise without washing the brush. Leave this color on your brush. It's important. And then brush across the bottom, letting those colors mix. We're going to work kind of fast here. And I'm going to show you right now how I have done abstract backgrounds in the past. So I'm just going to come in. This is how I've done abstract backgrounds when I have a really vivid color coming in against another color. So I'm going to come in like this. I'm going to flick my brush up, and I'm very, very light pressure. So you can see the soft edges that makes. I just love that. I think it's so fun. But then I go further. I didn't really describe this in the notes because I didn't have enough room, and it's one of those things where like, this is really hard to describe. I'll just do it on the video. You could leave it like this. What I did though, you can see it's a little more blended, less spiky. What I did is I made sure I didn't have a ton of paint on my brush, so you can just wipe most of it off. And you really lightly brush it in the opposite direction. So I'm doing horizontal brush strokes. I'm manipulating the direction of the paint. Now I'm going to wipe my brush again. And now I'm just going to do quick little light pressure. You want barely any pressure when you do this.
Under pressure.
And you can do this many, many times, but every time you go back, you're going to brush the opposite direction. And you might have to wash and dry your brush. It might just collect so much paint that you need to start with just a clean brush that's mostly dry. So that's nice and blended. I kind of liked it having a few little spikes, so I'll add some turquoise back in there. I debated in turning this into a winter pond in the background. I think that's something I could show you guys very easily towards the end, depending on how long we have.
I took a really cool picture of a winter pond not too long ago.
Huh.
I usually...
Yeah. I'm trying to remember what.
So our little dog, the chicken, she knows when Saturday is.
Her name's Chiaki, and
Her name is
she
Chiaki.
ends up being called Chicky or Chicken.
Yeah. But she knows what day Saturday is, and she gets up in the morning. If I don't get up in the morning and take her for a walk, I don't take her for walks any
Let me
other
see
days.
the zoom tool. I'm going to zoom in.
Oh, okay. T for close.
Okay.
And so she and I took a walk, and it was very cold, and got a neat little picture of a pond.
Yeah. So yeah, this technique, it works great for doing abstract backgrounds when you have a really bright color going in against another strong color. And a lot of times you'll find that in manipulating the paint, you've ended up, some of your white texture, the tooth of the canvas has stuck out a bit more. And you can wait and let this dry a bit and add some more paint back on. Because right now I'm adding paint back on and it's too wet, so it's not
Just kind of lifts.
really adhering. But it's such a pretty blend, and it's so easy. It's the simplest thing ever to do. And the key thing is to keep your brush strokes without much pressure at all. Okay. Now I'm going to go back to this color. So mine's pretty dried up. I'll probably make a fresh batch. We want to try to match it pretty close to these. So the colors there were white, red, and you make a pink first. Barbie box pink. Grab a little turquoise. Add it in till you have...
I'm much more into the Tiffany box blue.
And then if you want to add raw sienna to tone it down a little, you can. But you just want something that pretty closely matches the tree line back here. And I'm holding my brush up to it, and I can see it's a pretty close match. I'm going to set this brush down. We are going to bring in number 8. So this is a flat brush, and it's about a 1/4 inch wide. And you can dip it in the water cup first. Just loosen the bristles up, dry it off. And what we're going to do now is we're going to just dab some leafy shapes around some of these to make them resemble rounded trees. Now, not every single one, because we can have different varieties of trees in here. Some of these can be like alder trees. Some can be more of the taller, pointier, even fir trees would be fine. So this pretty much has to be East Coasty area because of the Cardinals. Yeah. I think our Cardinals, do they go into like Michigan too?
I think so.
Yeah.
They just don't, they're not in our area at all.
You guys who live over there, you're so lucky. I've always wanted to see one for real.
We have blue cardinals.
Blue jays?
Yeah. Stellar jays.
Stellar jays, they are so big compared to the normal birds that we get coming in for the bird feeder. And when you see one, it's like, holy smokes, that's bigger than the squirrel next to it.
And I guess they are closely related. They're part of the same kind of like family line. But you know, I found out something really interesting. Their heads shed. They molt just their heads, and then they look like little tiny vultures.
Oh, yes. I think you sent me a picture of that. Okay, that's so funny.
And I mean, I guess the blue jays do it as well.
No, there are no fireflies in Oregon. I've never
Nope.
seen one. I've painted tons and tons of fireflies, and I've always bemoaned the fact that...
We don't have a big flying bug issue over here.
No, luckily. Fireflies I wouldn't mind, but the one thing we have out here that's a problem are stink bugs.
Yeah, stink bugs.
In fact, I found one in this cup when I went to go to the bathroom and add water to the cup. There was this dead stink bug in the bottom of it. It's like, wait, it hasn't been that long since I used this.
The upside is we don't have cockroaches either.
We don't have. Yeah, well, they come in. They come in on like fruits and vegetables.
Yeah, but they're not a problem.
Yeah.
Ever.
So you can go in and just tap in some more color if you feel like you've got too many open holes down in there. So you do want it fairly dense, but you can have some open spaces. And then as far as like the treetops, you can round a few out. Pay attention to whether or not you've made a sculpted garden that would appeal to an HOA. This is out in the wild. It's in the field. So you want something that's going to look like it's just grown in without any help from the landscaping crew. So now I'm going to add raw sienna to give this a slightly fall turning into winter vibe. I dabbed raw sienna around the tops of some of these trees. Now I didn't do it on all of them. Some of these, I left these pretty much blank because the big bird's gonna go there. And you can use your number 8 brush. I don't know if I washed it. It's pretty purple still, but I think that's just the bristles are dyed. Yeah, they are. Hey, they match the paint. That's so funny. Okay.
We definitely have mosquitoes here too.
Oh, yeah, way too many. So just dip your brush in the raw sienna, maybe swipe it off on the palette a little bit to just flatten the paint out and make it so it's a little spread out on the brush. Pick out which trees you want to add some of this color to. It is a really nice touch. And you can go right on top these lavender leaves that you added. And you can also go put some of these in the background. Like maybe there's other trees behind these that are this color. Just tuck them in there. I don't think Sid's not on here tonight, is she?
Yeah, I don't see her. She hasn't the last couple.
Yeah.
She's had some stuff going on, I
think. So I'm just adding some of this. You can bring it down into the trees a bit so that you're not just... What you want to avoid is having a stripe of this color right across the top. So you want to change it up a bit and have some of these come down further.
Yeah, that's always kind of like probably in any kind of painting, but in particular in landscapes. Anytime we're bringing a color in like this, we want to make sure that we're not just hitting...
on top of everything you've already done.
Yeah, well, no, that you're not just hitting one spot where it feels out of place.
Yeah.
So that you're actually...
I'm building a whole different tree back here.
So it feels like it belongs as part of the big picture.
Mm-hmm. Some people call the cockroaches palmetto bugs to make themselves feel better. Yeah, I like that term a little bit better. They come in from cardboard boxes. So years ago, when I was in my early 20s, I worked at the Olive Garden. And I worked behind the bar. And one day I came in and they had the whole bar closed off because some cockroaches had come in on some of the produce. I don't remember what it was. Some produce from Mexico. And we got a small infestation behind the refrigerator in the bar. And that was the day I just kind of hightailed it out of there. Was like, just call me when you need me. I don't even want to see it because I work behind this bar. It's a really small space. Like literally I had like a 3-foot wide walking space. And I didn't want to think about the fact that I was sharing that area with a nest of cockroaches. But they're quick on it. Man, a restaurant like that, as soon as there is anything like that, they call in the people and they get it taken care of. They don't want any bad PR. So this painting could go so many different directions here. That's always the fun part of designing them, is looking at it and go, like, I looked and I'm like, where do I want to place the bird? Do I want it to be over here? Do I want it to be down here? And in the end, I ended up having him gazing off towards the sun.
And in the end, it doesn't really matter.
And looking at pictures of cardinals, which I did. I looked at a lot. I even watched YouTube videos, nature videos, just so I could see them from every angle. And they seem like they're quite a bit bigger than the one I put on here. After I got this done, I thought, wow, looking at photos, they're big birds, like chunky. Round. They're very round. So this one, I just continued to round it out a bit as I added the wings on there and stuff. We're going to add the branches now. So if you're following along on your sheet, we are on step 3. The rest of this will go, let's see how many, there's 9 steps. I always try to keep mine at 9 steps. Now when I say step, there's multiple steps on each photo, but they're kind of short and easy. So we're going to paint our trees in here, and this is where I always will tell people it's like you're painting a lightning bolt. So it's going to come out of here and then it's just going to split in all different directions. color-wise, what did we mix here? I know I didn't use straight black. Turquoise, red, and a small amount of black. So I'm going to mix with this brush, I think. Find a spot. Let's see. Right over here, the three colors together. Turquoise and red. And let's see, mine's kind of, it looks like a dark purple. I could technically use this color I just mixed right now, but I did add just a small amount of black to it, just to deepen that up. What would you call this color? It's like kind of grape soda, but...
Garnet.
No, it's not garnet. It's not red enough. It's like aubergine, maybe? I don't know. Okay, so to paint this main branch, let's have a look. So right about here is the middle of my canvas. So if you like to put them in the locations I did, this is probably 1.5 inches above the middle, thereabouts. It's probably about 1 inch to here, but I'm going to say 1.5 inches because I like to start up here. And I'm just going to make this scooped branch first for the bird to sit on. Now it's not like a real big scoop, it's just a kind of a gentle slope. And I'm going to use the thin edge of this brush to draw it on. So let's find the middle, right about there. Jump up about 1.5 inches. Just make a mark. Just make a mark to start. So then you can feel like, okay, got that done. Now how far does this need to go? Here's the middle of the canvas. So it extends out a good 1.5 inches from the middle. So let's just bring this down. Think about your bird sitting here. Little scoop. Here's the middle. And now I'm going to curve up and beyond the middle about 1.5 inches. And he's got a nice little flat scooped branch to sit on. As you get out to the end, if you can pay attention to how much pressure you're putting on your brush, and this will come automatically eventually after you've been painting for a while. As you get out to the end of the branch, you're just gradually going to lighten your pressure. And like I said, I didn't even think about it, I just automatically do it. But I wanted to say it out loud so that you guys know that that's something to pay attention to until it starts coming automatically for you. And now I'm going to drop down about maybe 1/4 inch-ish. Going to parallel this line. It can be wobbly and bumpy. And then as I get out to about here, about the middle of the canvas, they're going to join. So then it's really thin here and thicker there. Start with your branches thinner than feels comfortable, because it's a lot easier to fix a branch that's too thin than to go back and thin out a big old thick branch. But big thick branches work as well. So if you have made one, your bird can actually kind of disguise a lot of that, depending on where you place it. But also adding lots of little small twiggy branches out from your big thick branch will help as well. So I'm going to do probably one more branch with this brush, and then I'm going to switch to my smallest brush. So under here, this one's just going to come out, kind of wobbling my brush. It's going to come out like that. And now I'm going to wash this brush and go to my little guy. This one here, just a little round brush. This is a number 2. I do like to get the brush wet and add a drop of water to the paint anytime I use this little one, because it does not hold a lot of moisture compared to the larger brushes. And when I'm mixing this up, I get a lot of big glob of paint on the brush. I don't want that when I'm starting to draw small twigs, so I'm just going to pull and twist my brush on the palette, and what that did is it knocked off excess paint. And you can even redip the tip of the bristles in the paint, so you have fresh paint there. And what I'm going to do from here is come down, and I'm just going to start making split ends. Some of them can go longer than your branch. You can have some that maybe just come out and stop because they've broken off. That looks really natural. If you have your branch a little too wavy, you can fix that up. And everywhere you put little branches, we're going to have lots of space to put some of these little winter berries. Take your time. And if you can remember, just keep your pressure really light. And I know I've talked about this before. I mentioned it being a lightning bolt. Some people have better luck painting it this way, like you really are painting, and think about it like I'm painting a lightning bolt coming out of the sky. And when you turn your canvas around, what you've done is you've taken the pressure off yourself. So you're not like thinking like, I'm painting a branch, oh my god, I'm painting a branch. Instead, just think of it like, okay, these are bolts of lightning that they're shooting out from this one main bolt, and they're starting to split off, and there's other ones splitting off of those. They're coming down to strike the ground down here. It really helps, actually.
Yeah, Joanna, I would definitely put tree branches on the list of probably the 5 things that people seem to struggle with.
Yeah,
the most.
Definitely. It's something that it will come eventually.
I think it's because it's really a very... anytime something's like very organic in the sense that like water or clouds are in movement, so how do you paint something that's in movement? And tree branches kind of grow in the same concept, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's kind of hard to capture that at first until you get used to the feeling of, how that should feel and look. We're not painting specific trees, and all different trees grow their branches differently.
Yeah.
But these are kind of like our generic painter trees.
So this one came across a little bit further than this guy, and that's fine. It's just going to be a slightly different version of the painting. And on this side, I had a couple peekaboo branches. At first I did one, and I thought it looked a little too lonely, so I added a second. And you can see how you like it. Maybe you want to do one, maybe you want to do 2, maybe you want to leave them off completely. Especially if this came way over, you don't want it to end up a little too crowded. So because mine came way over, it might be better if I do just one, but we'll see. I'm going to just come in here. I'm using my small brush and that paint that's watered down. And if you like doing this, the lightning bolt technique, just flip your canvas around and paint it that way. But this is going to add some nice color balance when we put the red berries over here, because otherwise this would end up being really red heavy because of the bird and the berries. So having some of those berries over here is going to help balance that color out.
Something I'll add on the painting branches. And this is just kind of like, if you have an extra piece of paper, some extra paint, something like that, don't be afraid to pull up a photo of branches and actually just really spend some time painting them. Sometimes it's like I've even done this with the iPad, is pull up a photo of something and then put a piece of paper over the iPad so you can see through, and use the paintbrush to just kind of trace until you start to feel what that should, what the feeling is of painting those shapes is, if that makes sense.
So I did decide on adding 2, but rather than having one point down and one point straight across, they both are kind of pointing upward a little bit.
Yeah, this one on the left did not do any favors to mine.
Oh, you went way across there.
I did.
Yours is a nice purpley color. I like that.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So there we go. Ooh, branch is done. And we do put snow on top of these, and the snow will help thin out if you've got some really thick, sturdy branches and you feel like they're a little too sturdy. We're not going to fat shame them. We're going to put a little snow on top. They enjoyed their Christmas cookies. They did, yeah. So the snow that we layer on top will actually, it's a great opportunity to kind of thin out the branch and make it less noticeable if you've made it a bit too thick.
On that tip on the iPad, hamster eats cookies. When I've done that, I've gone to the art store and gotten a brush tip marker. We've got that set of those. And so that's really, I like to use that because it gives you the same feeling as using a brush, but it's a little bit easier if you're using paper.
Yeah.
So we're just working on getting shapes right, not painting masterpieces at that point.
Yeah. And one thing too, really start looking at trees.
Oh gosh.
As you're like taking a walk, or maybe take a walk just to look at trees.
Yeah.
That's a fun thing to do. It's like a way to get some exercise in without it being like, I'm just exercising. Think of it like, I'm going to study trees.
Who was the artist that said it was learning how to paint was more learning how to see? I'm trying to remember who that was.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
Take a little more of that. Okay.
Just in general, we have a tendency of only seeing vague amounts of detail because we are so busy doing the things that we do that we actually don't take time to actually look and see all the nuances.
Yes.
Even if we think we do.
I'm going to grab a piece of paper. So you guys just
Do
keep
it.
working on it.
I'll just sit here and I'm going to look and see who that quote was.
Okay. This chair. I'm going to show you how to draw birds. And if you've done some of our other older paintings, you'll notice this is something that I do. And it's just a way to draw them easily without being like, I'm going to draw a whole bird now. You focus on drawing shapes and then putting those shapes together to make it into an object. So I'm going to use, on my drawing here, I'll use red so it stands out. So I always make a circular head. And it's okay if this ends up being more of an oval. You can always just widen it out on the outside edges. And then for the body's a lot longer than the head, but not like so long that it, like doves would have like a little smaller head and a really long body, but you want to make the body kind of just a bit bigger than this. About maybe 2 or 3 times the size of the head. Unless you're making a finch, a little tiny bird, then it's going to be maybe just 2 times the size of the head. But I think this cardinal will probably be closer to 3 times the size of the head. And notice how I interlinked them? That way you don't end up with like snowman syndrome. We want to make it so it has a neck, it has a thick neck rather than a pencil neck. And then for the tail, it's really just a couple long feathers that come down like that. So one end's a little bit shorter than the other.
So it's a quote by Seth Godin.
Oh, I don't know who that is.
Huh?
I don't know who that is.
I don't either, but it says, at the heart of art is learning to see. So I've always liked that. I don't remember where I heard that quote, but I think that's 100%. And somebody said, Joanna, yes, you definitely do see things differently. And it's kind of like, sometimes it's a little bit of a curse.
Sometimes it is.
We've joked about this before about like us in the car driving in a scene. Oh, did you see? Look at that. Oh, Jenny,
look at that tree.
Look at that. Look at that cloud. Look at the way the light's reflecting out. Look at that shade of green.
Okay, quit talking. Okay, so now I want to curve the head into the body so they really do have a thicker neck. And then when you fill all this in, it makes a little bit more sense. So it's almost like shaped like one of those Russian babushka stacking dolls. Very similar. And then like for the cardinal,
we'll have to do a story about the babushka doll painting one of these times.
Yeah, we had a ghost in one of our old studios that was messing around with a babushka doll painting.
Yeah. I didn't say we needed to talk about it now. It's a teaser so people come back another time.
So there is like the head of the cardinal, and then they have a bigger beak. So they have more like a beak that kind of reminds me of more of like a parakeet, or maybe even like one of those small kind of parrots. It's like a little bit bigger than like a little finch or smaller bird would have. And then from here, obviously I would fill in the tail, but I'm not going to do that on this one. From here you can decide how fat do I want this bird to be. Now looking at photos, some of them really are very rotund, very round, and I read what it is they can actually lift their feathers up off their body And I don't remember if that was a predator
warm.
prey kind of thing, or if it
To
actually
keep them
does.
warm.
If it actually does keep them
It's
warm.
their version of wearing a puffy coat.
And then yeah, I just will kind of make the neck match. This guy's he's been hitting the gym. But yeah, super easy to draw a bird.
Do you think they're like, hey, how much you flap?
How much you flap? Just 2 interlocking circles, one bigger than the other. Maybe this one's a little more oval shaped. Little tiny beak, if you're doing a little itty bitty bird. Tail. I just do like I said, a long kind of teardrop shape, and then another one right next to it. And then we worry about feet later. They're pretty easy on this painting. So now that you got to watch me draw it on the paper, we're going to draw it on canvas now. And I'll stay zoomed in. And that allowed my canvas to dry a bit.
You know, I've
My
never
branch is
painted a
still
cardinal.
little bit wet. So I, when I was watching some of this documentaries and stuff on cardinals, I might zoom out just a little bit, so just at first so you guys can see the size relation to how big I make this. When they have their pointy thing up, straight up, it means they're irritated with cardinals. So I painted the bird in with this color because out of all the colors, I feel like this one would be the easiest to blend in and cover up if you made like a mistake that you can't come back from right away. So let's do that. Don't worry about it. I want you to just try and do the best you can. So we're going to come up above, let's see. The body of my bird is probably about 2, maybe 2.5 inches. If you want to just come up about wherever you want to set your bird. I think mine's going to go right here. Come up about 2.5 inches, maybe even 3 inches. Just make a mark. That's going to be, that mark I just made is the bottom of this circle. So we're going to draw up from that. If you made it too high, then you'll draw down from it. So just sketch it into a little circle. It's about the size of, a little bit bigger than a quarter. Just a touch bigger than a quarter. Unless you want to make a really big bird.
My birds always end up way bigger than I want them to.
I'm going to make mine a little bit bigger, just looking up on the monitor, so I can
bird.
have a big body. I feel like I always end up making the body a little bit too small. Okay, so now I like to just draw this like I'm drawing a linked circle up here. Just that helps me get started. And then I'm going to come down and make an oval shape. Just like you're painting a funny snowman or something. And just have it come right into the branch.
They have a shark fin head.
Yeah, it really is like a shark fin. And Paul is making a very big bird. It's just more zoomed in.
Yeah.
Yep, more zoomed in. So the tail on this, it can be in front of the branch, but I did draw feet on him, so on mine I have it behind the branch. So what we'll do is we're going to drop down behind here. This tail can come down long if you want and be really dramatic. Just make kind of a long, kind of a teardrop shape, I guess. And then I make another one next to it that's sort of slightly behind it. And it's going to be a little shorter. Let me zoom in.
So we got some fun news.
Do we?
Yeah. Jenny has been added to the art department of the local community theater because our daughter was brought in to be one of the makeup artists.
Yeah, they're putting on Sherwood Center for the Arts. Great brand new building with, well, it's like a few years old. Huge theater auditorium. And they're putting on the Rocky Horror Picture Show. And my daughter is like the most awesome makeup person for doing that kind of makeup. So she was brought in to do that. And I was brought in to do some of the backdrop painting. So that's why next week we have Paul's stream is on Thursday. Because Friday night is the very first night of the play, so we will have to be there because I'm doing some of the makeup too. It'll be fun. It was a blast.
And it is theater makeup, film makeup, that type of thing.
I should show a photo.
Is something that is very high on our daughter's list of things she would like to do with her life. So that's a big thing for her.
Yeah, she got to go in and do a test run on the main character. So that's the makeup she did on Taylor. Look at his eyes and eyebrows. It's amazing. And that's our daughter. And you can see her makeup and her hair color. But yeah, it was super fun. She did a really great job.
And to give you an idea, in that picture, our daughter is 5'7", and she wears Doc Martens, so she's about 5'9". He's got to be 6'4".
Yeah, well, he was wearing heels.
Oh, okay.
He's very tall.
All right.
Okay, so let's keep working on this bird. Let's connect this neck here. This is the back of the neck, so it can even be a little thicker where it just kind of goes right into the body. And then the front of the neck, you have a little space. You can connect that. And then for the topper, if you want to make an irritated bird, you'll do it more upright. Have a look. Google some pictures of cardinals, if that helps. I just have mine. It's kind of like it's just follows the curve of the face and goes back like this. Maybe he's only slightly irritated. He's irritated that it's morning and he had to get up. And now the beak I have, it's kind of a 3/4 view. So
their beak is very triangular and blunt. Okay.
So
I just looked at a picture.
I'm just going to, from about the middle of the face, I'm going to come out. And yeah, it's just like I'm doing a small version of that, basically. And then I'm going to come into the face just enough. And it's kind of got a point too. It's like almost like a diamond shape, the whole thing. And you can fill this in just to get that done.
My bird is going to get bigger.
Put a bird on it. Every time I see this, it reminds me of like the regular show. Isn't he a blue jay?
Yeah, but the girl is a cardinal.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Which doesn't make sense because she's a girl and cardinals.
Cardinals are like kind of a light pale yellowy color. So now I'm just going to come out on this side to make a little bit of a wing. You can see how now I've got a double line there, and over here too you can show a little bit of wing. Because he's facing us, but he's kind of just turning his head. And now we're going to leave him alone while he dries.
Okay. I gotta fix this above.
Yeah, we're pretty excited about the upcoming play, and I know that means we'll probably be brought in for the next one is the Addams Family, and then after that, I don't remember what the one over the summer is called. But yeah, they do them quite often, and luckily the theater department is only 5 minutes from home, so it gives me something to do other than just sitting on the couch streaming something. Okay, so let's go ahead. Let's put some snow. I think that's what we do next. Snow. Yeah, snow on the branches. Now make sure your branches dry. We'll just be careful around the bird. And I'll probably use my second smallest brush, which is the number 4. This is about an 1/8 inch wide and flat. You don't even need to get it wet. We don't use a lot of paint here. And let's start with these ones because they're away from that wet bird. And I'm just going to use the thin edge of the brush and come across the top. And think about gravity. So right here where it's really flat, that snow would start collecting. But up here where it goes upright, it's going to be less likely for snow to collect there. But it would definitely collect in here. And in fact, it might even fill in this area with a little scoop like that. So what you guys have when you're done here is you scan it and have it printed somewhere, and you've got your Christmas card for next year. Or your New Year's card. That's what my grandmother used to do. She'd do a painting and have one of her sons, either my dad or brother, scan it. Dad or my uncle scan it. And that would be her Christmas card. She'd print it out, mail it. I always thought that was really neat. I love the look of this, though. I love that. I think it's such a fun, pretty, cozy. I'm never ready to let the holidays go. It's hard. I kind of get to where I'm ready to undecorate the house, but then it's always kind of sad, like everybody in the neighborhood taking all their lights down. why don't you just leave them up all year? So right here, I'm going to skip and just start on this other side of the bird. Now this is where if you need to thin out this big branch, just paint down into the branch. And that can help thin out the dark area. So yeah, if you really feel like your branch ended up too thick, thin it out that way. This bird has knocked off the snow from right where he's sitting. So anywhere you want to put a little dusting of snow, some areas will have just a tiny bit, and you might even use a smaller brush. And then other areas, maybe, like especially this top edge, is going to have a thicker amount of snow. And you don't have to hit every single branch, just the main ones and ones that make sense to have snow on them. Like, definitely I need to get this one because it would have a good little layer of snow. Sometimes I don't go all the way out to the ends of the branches, just because like a lot of times it ended up like this. This is kind of blunt. I might just do a thinner line, but you don't necessarily need to go all the way out and coat the very ends, unless you want to put yourself through that. There, I'm just about done with that. Ready to paint the winter berries. I always love these little red winter berries that appear on deciduous trees when the trees have no leaves. We have some on our little walk that we take at night. Have you noticed those in the little green space area of the path? So I painted these kind of a, let's see if I remember, I think I painted them like a dark Merlot color. Yes. Let's see here. I mix black and red. You want to shoot for kind of a wine color. Like Merlot is what I mentioned. Cabernet. And we're going to draw the little circles on, and then we're going to leave a light spot, which we'll fill in with a highlight later. So that's how I get these nice light spots for highlights. Okay, we want to use our smallest brush. I'm going to find mine. There it is. How are we doing time-wise? Okay, we're good. Actually, we've only been an hour, so that's great. So black and red. More red than black. The black will come in and really change that color right away. Oops, I need to zoom out. I'm sorry.
Way to go, Jenny.
I'll zoom back in for the berries. But yeah, here's my color. Kind of cranberry colored. Wine colored. The more black you add, the more closer to like wine color it'll be. But I feel like this is a good color. And let's have a look at the berries. Once again, let's see where I put them. I put them at the ends of the tiny little twigs, so you don't see any really back in here. Although you could dangle some down in here. But I pretty much put them on the ends of the branches. And there's not a ton of them. Let's see, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have 12 of them on here. You can do more or less. And like right here's a good spot. This is just about the diameter of a pencil eraser. And then let's think about our light source. This is our light source. So your highlighted area is going to be facing the sun. So I'm just going to fill in this bottom edge. And so every time you draw a berry, and you can draw several at once and then go back and color them in. But every time you go back to fill one in, think about your light source. So where's that light going to hit? That's the part you'll leave without color.
Hello, Lupita.
Hello.
And I saw that Hamster Eats Cookies is Faith.
Oh, hi, Faith.
Got lots of new people in today.
Linda, I watch Christmas movies all year. You know what? I have been known to do that as well. I love them. I just, they're a type of movie that they're just so cheesy, but they always are happy. And so at the end you're going to be, if you're not smiling, you're at least going to be in a better mood.
You know what? Life's too serious too much of the time.
Life is way too serious. Yes, I agree. People need to watch the cheesy movies.
It's too far-fetched.
They all have the same storyline, but that's okay. I didn't even get all the ones watched that I wanted to this year, but...
No, we didn't even come close.
No, but there are some that are ones that we saved till like Christmas Eve, and then it comes to Christmas Eve and we got like 4 movies that we've saved. We're like, oh, when are we gonna have time for this?
We never watched the finished Christmas Story this year.
No, we didn't. That's a great one.
That actually is maybe my favorite Christmas movie and we didn't watch.
It's really nostalgic scene.
We didn't watch Rare Exports.
No, we didn't watch that either. That's more of a Christmas scary movie.
That's a great one, though. It's like 98% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Really?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Okay, I think this is my last berry here. And now we can start filling in our cardinal. So we are on step 7 now, and we're going to use a combination of our smallest brushes, and we'll fill the bird in with solid red except for the beak. So, I kind of like this number 4 for a lot of that. I'll probably use a combination of the 3 smaller brushes. So definitely use your little bitty guy if you need to get around some of these areas, especially up in this tall point. Or if you've gotten really proficient using the thin edge of one of your flat brushes, you can use those too. But it's just the plain old right out of the tube red. And you want to make sure that you cover your golden outlines so none of those are going to show. And I will show you how to turn this pointed area to look a little more feathery like this one, because it is like a series of feathers that stick up. I find that using the thin edge of the brush and just brushing backwards, so maybe the topmost part of the head will be the longest point that goes back, and the rest is just kind of like...
Jenny has never seen Die Hard either.
No, I have not.
I saw it once when it was fairly new.
Hey, we did watch that classic we talked about.
Miracle, no, It's a Wonderful Life.
Yes, we did watch It's a Wonderful Life. And we both agreed that the movie is very slow, but the last, 2/3 of the movie is the best.
Yeah, the last 2/3 of it. And I almost feel like, so this is the way I felt like after watching it was, I felt like I needed to go back and watch it again.
Yeah, a lot of the whole beginning sequence and the long, drawn-out stuff was just character building.
Older movies that have a lot of chaotic crowd noise tend to really trigger me.
Do you need to go find a quiet place to hide?
There's something about it that's very unsettling for me. And there's several scenes in the beginning part of that are like that, and it's like nails on a chalkboard too.
What about the whole part where the floor opens up and there's a pool and all the people start jumping into the pool? It's like, I did not expect that. No, it had a good message though in the end. I thought it was worth it, definitely.
He was kind of a jerk though.
Yeah, he was.
I mean, he was a good caring person on one hand, but he was also kind of a jerk at first.
Yeah, like when he's asking...
when she loses her robe and he's like messing with her.
Or when he's asking her to marry him and he's like shaking her. It's like, I don't want to get married. And he's like shaking her. I'm like, what is happening here?
This is assault.
But yeah, that was a classic we needed to watch. So the bottom part of the tail... you can fill this in like this first if you want and then color it in. and then go back and use the thin edge of your brush or your smallest brush and just do some short little flicks that get longer down here towards the bottom. Like you're shorter here and then get longer to indicate that these are little individual feathers. And our bird will definitely need, well, it'll most likely need a second coat of paint, at least in the middle part. Because we put the wings on, those will be fine. They don't need a second coat of red. Okay, yeah, he's a little bigger than the last bird and shaped slightly different. So this one is really rounded down here. This one is actually more rounded up here. I can sort of level that out a bit, but I don't want to do too much. I want it to make it look like he can balance on here.
Mine's a little teapot, short and stout. This is his tail feathers. This is his crown.
So while this is still wet, we'll just take this same brush, dip it in black, unless you want to use your smallest brush. And we want to shade black, so starting kind of the back of the neck, you want to shade black along here. Just let it mix with the red. And this would be the wings. And again, it's very helpful to look at photos of cardinals. And this little brush is great for if you really want to be extra detailed and get some smaller, more hairline brush strokes up in here where the neck starts going into the wing. So I know that I could zoom in, but I'm going to kind of hold that up for you to see. You can see the little hairs.
Feathers.
Just dipped my finger in raw sienna.
Feathers.
Yeah, feathers, but they're kind of more of a hair-like shape. And on the other side, we have probably a little bit less wing showing, because we're really seeing pretty close to a 3/4 view. So on this one, it's more of a sliver of black. Just let that blend in to the wet red paint. And then on the tail, I just use vertical. I have too much paint on my brush. Maybe use this little brush. Just do vertical brush strokes. And you can always go back and get some on here first. And then go back and use red and brush some red in there to sort of soften everything up if needed. And I'm going to wash this brush and get all the black off of it. And I want this to blend in a little bit more. So I'm going to use red and come along the edges here where the black and red meet and just sort of soften that edge. And apparently go up on the face. That's okay. And same if you need to do that over here. Now the bird is still a little too wet to accept a second coat very well. So for now, I'm just gonna let it sit and we'll work on our berries some more. We don't have a lot left to do, just some detail work. So we'll be done pretty soon. Where are we at? I think step 8. Let's see. Oh, wait, no. We're still on step 7. Okay. We want to use our smallest brush, and we're going to mix raw sienna, right here, white and red. We're going to make a pale orange. You can mix it up with one of your bigger brushes if you want, but I think we just need a small amount, so the small brush is fine. So let's just mix raw sienna and white first, get that light color like this. And now I'm going to put some red in there. I want it to be kind of a pale orange. So this is kind of salmon colored right now, so I need more raw sienna in there. Maybe a little more white. I'm ending up making more and more paint, way more than I need. So here's my color. Kind of a salmon color it ended up being. And you can play around with it. You can make it more orange if you want. But there's really no need to. We are going to use this color as a highlight on the berries. Let's see here. Just looking. Seems like I added red to the berries too, but maybe I don't. Okay. So I have a lot of paint on the brush. I'm going to pull and twist it just on my palette like this to knock off excess paint. And I'm going to come in and add this highlighted color to the berries in that light spot that we left. You can see very little paint is used compared to the amount I mixed. Let me zoom in a little more so you can see exactly what I'm doing.
Oops, sorry.
Gross.
Oh, snurfly snurfle. Let's see. Hi, Tina. Glad to have you in.
Yeah.
Jenny, is your pinky on the canvas when you use the small brush?
A lot of times I do put it on there, especially if I know it's dry. So like this sort of thing, like if I was detailing the tail, it's a good time to balance your pinky on the canvas. There's actually a special tool you can buy, and I need to look up and see what it's called. I've never used one, but I've always been intrigued by it. And you use it, it's like a stick that has like a ball of fabric on the end, and you use it on the canvas. I'll look that up sometime and talk about it. Maybe I'll buy one and test it out. So if your berries end up being a little too highlighted and you feel like they need to be a little more red, you can wash your brush, your little guy, and just take and dip it in just the plain red paint, so no mixing of paint. And you can come in and kind of reduce the size of that highlight just a bit on some of these, just by bringing some red in there. And this is only if you feel like the highlight ended up a little big. I like using plain red because then we've got 3 color tones going on with the berries. So it's not just a solid red. We've got the dark Merlot color. We've got that kind of orangey salmon color for the highlight. And then we've got plain red in here too. How many berries did I end up with this time? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Exactly 12, did I? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh my gosh. I didn't even count them. That's funny. It just must be like automatic. I know, my brain is telling me I need exactly 12.
You are what you think.
If only my brain could tell me the exact Mega Millions numbers.
You just jinxed it.
No, you ordered the ticket. Okay, so there we've got we've got all of this part done. We've got all the background done, and now it's all up to that cardinal, which it'll come together quick. And I think I will have time to show you how to turn this into a winter pond if you wanted to. So this color here, the kind of salmon-y color, I'm going to use my little brush, and I'm going to just take a small patch and add more raw sienna and white to it. So I'm aiming for kind of this color. It's like a, I don't know what I call that. It's really close to the raw sienna, but it's just got a touch more red to it, and it's a little more opaque from the white. And I'm going to zoom in and I'm going to fill in the beak. Most of this bird I'll do zoomed in so you can see up close. Try not to get that head off of there. So the beak definitely needs a second coat. Gosh, it's like the exact color of the beak. I mixed all these special colors together only to find out I made raw sienna. I could add a little more of this orangey color to it. One thing you can do instead of drawing, this is something I learned in life drawing class. Instead of drawing the line to divide the upper beak from the lower beak, if that tiny little thin line scares you, you can simply
not paint it.
You can simply make the upper beak a darker color than the lower beak. So I'm going to make it kind of more dramatic than maybe I normally would, just to show you. So I'm making mine kind of pink. So there, now it's like divided without having to draw that funny little thin line. But I will show you how to do that too, because it's on the original. And I could make that even darker so that it's more pronounced. Okay. Now, I'm going to draw the black mask on. And then while that dries, I'm going to get a second coat of red on here. It's on the monitor, it looks like it doesn't need a second coat, but in person it's really streaky and I can see thin bits of canvas. I mean, thinner spots where I can see kind of the canvas through it a little bit. This color that I used on the beak, this kind of where I mixed red, raw sienna, and white right here. This is a great color to use as a highlight on the front of the bird along here. And we'll still be able to put more red on the bird. So I'm just flicking my brush, working downward. You can add as much highlight as you like. Just little hair-like brush strokes. These are tiny little chest feathers that they have. And you can even do this on the top of the forehead here. Like the sun is just glinting off the front edge. I've got a drop of water I can see is threatening to come down and splat on my canvas.
Don't you do it, drop of water. Don't you do it.
And down here on the tail, this is a great spot to do a highlight too, because the sun is going to cut through the branches there and highlight the front edge of some of these tail feathers. Okay, let me get the bird back in the picture. So there you see, I could continue doing this. The nice thing is with doing these kind of highlights, if you get it done and say you did a lot and maybe it feels like it's too much and your bird is looking more yellow than red, you can just come in with the red and glaze right back over some of these highlights just a little bit at a time until you have it at a level that you like. And now if I wanted to, which I do, I could take and wash my brush and use a little black and come in here while the paint is dried a bit now so I can get a bit more black on here and get what I was talking about. Let me zoom in a little more. I guess I've gone in, have I gone in all the way now?
No.
Okay.
It goes in quite a ways.
So there, you can get those little, what I talked about, the kind of hair-like brush strokes along here. And you can even have some through here. This wing is just tucked right up into his side. And now we're gonna make the mask. And this is where he starts looking like an angry bird. If you guys remember the game Angry Birds, it looks, that one was a cardinal. It's so funny.
Remember they made a movie out of that.
In a game, all kinds of stuff.
Well, it was a game.
So you can see now as I'm zoomed in that I do need a second coat of red right through the middle, and once I paint the mask on, I'm going to do that, and then by the time I get up here, the mask will be probably mostly dry, and then we can get some more red up there where needed as well. Yes, I love the zoom in too. It's so great, and I'm glad I'm starting to remember that we actually have it. So the mask that we put on is going to define the beak some more too, and it's just a pretty easy shape. You're going to go across the top of the beak, just straight across and back, just enough to where we can fit a round eye in there. It's like a little bandit. Then this part kind of angles down like that, and it's going to come down and then come right across the chin. And then what I'll do next is I'm going to outline, kind of trace and block in the beak here. So then I have this shape I can fill in. This is where I appreciate painting on a desk rather than an easel, because painting with the upright it's a little harder to like get this kind of detail, because, well, for me anyway, my hand tends to shake a bit. Maybe that's just too much caffeine, or just, I don't know, getting older. And this way I can rest my hand right on the canvas pretty easily. Easier than it would be if it was upright. Now if you want, you can, let's have a look at my original. I did some of those little furry brush strokes that I talked about that we did along here. You can see them there too. If you want, you can very carefully put a few of those back here, almost like they're eyelashes. Just a little flick of the brush with a little bit of paint on it. And you can even do it down in here. So, because these are feathers, they're just black feathers that are a different color, and they grow into the red feathers. I think my new one looks really angry. Again, if you need to have a look at Cardinals online, there's plenty of pictures. Look at this one, he has a little flyaway. That's funny. So before I get too far, I'll show you how to make this dividing line. And I don't want to use solid black at all for this, because that would be really out of place and it'd be really easy to get a color that's way too dark. So what I did is I took the color that the beak is, so you can even use raw sienna. I think in my instructions I say raw sienna. And you just add a tiny touch of black. So you're kind of turning it more of a gray. So rather than black, you're just getting kind of a gray color. Now when you mix, you're going to end up with a lot of paint on your brush. So wash your brush and dry it off. Squeeze it into the sharpest little point you can. Redip the tip of the bristles in the paint. Maybe even add just a teeny dot of water if needed. I don't even know if I got any water in there. And balance your hand on your painting somewhere. And from the front of the mouth, beak, work back. And I could even go a bit darker. I was a little less bold, I guess, when I made that. Oh, he's smiling at least. And this is where, if that turned out good, and you feel like you did a good job with a small thin line, you could go back and match the top color of the beak to the bottom color if you didn't like it having it be a different color by just whatever color you used on the bottom. You can paint on the top. We do a highlight across the top anyway, so that's probably gonna, here I'll show you the highlight. Right there, we've barely fit one on there, so that's probably gonna fix that anyway. All right, set this brush aside. Let's get another coat of red on the chest. Let me zoom out just a little. Just plain red. I'm not using anything mixed. It's right out of the bottle. Going right down the middle. And if you feel like you want to soften the edges where the wing comes in, you can glaze that red over the edge. Or if you feel like your highlight got a little too bold, you can glaze your red right over that. The nice thing about this red is it's not super opaque, it's just opaque enough. And so you can easily glaze over things you want to soften up and it will work like a charm. And now for the top of the head, if you feel like you need some more red paint up in here, just use your smallest brush and carefully add some in there. Be careful around the mask part. It's probably still just enough wet that it could smear into the red here. And if you need any more on the tail, now is a great time to add some of that in there. Yeah, looking good. He's styling. Look at him. He's got his pompadour hairdo. He really looks pretty proud. My other one is just frowning and he just looks kind of grumpy. And I think my new one, something about his expression. Maybe it's because like this really scoops down the mouth part. And on this one it goes more upright. We've got a smiley proud guy and then the grumpy one who hasn't had his coffee yet. Okay, let's go ahead and draw the feet now while we're waiting for the mask part to dry. We really just have a couple steps left. The feet are really easy. Let me show you guys. Zoom in there. Look at that. They're just 3 little curved lines, like tiny little claws that are under that round body and just curve around the branch. And they're black. So I'll zoom out and actually zoom in here so you can see what I'm doing. You'll want to use your smallest brush. What are you doing?
I'll be right back.
Oh, okay. All right, so then I'm going to just make the little claw here that wraps around. It doesn't have to wrap all the way around the back. It can just kind of curve. And they really do have tiny, delicate feet for their rounded bodies, but then we know their bodies are, so much of it is just feathers that they puff out. So they weigh just little grams of weight. There we go. When those dry, one thing you can do if you want to keep working on this, after the black feet are dry, you can bring some of the red fluff over and fluff the feathers over the feet, the tops of the feet just a little bit. So you're going to be doing this kind of brush stroke, the skinny little feathery lines with your small brush with red. And you can make the feathers just kind of puff over the top edges of the feet. I saw a lot of cute pictures of cardinals that look like that. So I am going to zoom in pretty close for the eye because that's the part that is the smallest detail on here probably. Look at that, right up close. Let's have a look at the eye on this one. It's so simple. So you guys have painted bubbles with me before. That's basically what we're doing. We're painting a tiny bubble. And they have little eyelids that we really just see. We're just seeing the highlight that makes the eyelid stand out. And I just mixed a kind of a charcoal gray for the circular part of the eye, and then the highlight is white. So let's mix our color. Let me bring my palette over here. I'll just put a little dot of black down here and then mix in some white. So that's about the color I want to go with. Now I do want to add a drop of water to that because we need a nice fluid paint. Not super watery, but a little more fluid than right out of the bottle. So you can see when I brush it, it kind of separates a little bit. You can see all those little holes up here. That's kind of a piece of art on its own. It's super cool. Okay, I'm going to wipe my brush on my paper towel and then just redip the tip of the bristles. And if you need to, you can squeeze your brush down into a little point. You'll get a little paint on your hands, but that'll wash off. Then just redip the tip of the bristles in the gray. And at the very back of, let me get it on the screen. I'm moving things around too much. at the very back of the mask, right in here, you're going to just, and even if you just dot it like you're a little sewing machine, that works too, but you're just going to sketch in the tiniest or thinnest outline of a circle, and it's a small circle. They don't have a gigantic eye. And the cool thing is, if you ended up, which is super common, if you ended up with too thick of a line, you can always wash your brush and come in with a little black and just work from the inside and thin out the outline. And you can even like work from the outside too, just to thin down that outline so you have a really small one. And now we want to highlight the eye. So the sun is shining. The sun is shining across and hitting the front of the eye. One thing I do is I actually use a little gray first. I like to do multi-tone highlights in the eye. So I use a little of that gray that we outlined it with and just do a little swipe, like kind of a crescent shape. And then I'm going to wash the brush. And I'm going to pick up the tiniest little dot of white. You can see that there on the tip of my bristles. And within that crescent, kind of up in the upper corner, I'll just put a white dot. He's bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. And this is another thing that you can, once that dries, you'd want the white to dry, which won't take long. It's such a small dot. You can use the black and work your way on the outside edges and thin it out if needed. And now let's highlight the beak. So for the beak highlight, I just, let me zoom out a little. This is funny. I just mix raw sienna and white. You only need a tiny bit, and I'm just using my littlest brush. And your sunlight is cutting across here. It's going to highlight the front top edge of the beak. And you can even add more of that color into the chest if needed. Maybe a few feathers that pop out. And looks like I got a little much there. Come back in with red. I'm just doing some last little touch-ups because I'm done. Are you done with yours, Paul?
Pretty much. Had to step out and have a little coughing fit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I doubted you guys wanted to hear that.
I was wondering. Because I heard you get your car keys. I'm like, what are you doing?
Well, I needed to be able to unlock the door to come back in.
True. Okay. I'm going to add... Oh, I was going to show you guys how to turn that into a winter pond. I'm like, I know there's something else. I just added a little white shine on top of the beak, too, just to see how it looked. Yeah, I love it. Fun. Don't know which bird I like better. This one's got a little bit more of a pear-shaped body, which is funny. He's like kind of sagging in the chest, and this one's puffing out his chest. He's kind of
Put him up.
irritated.
Put him up.
Irritated. He's irritated. And now this is a perfect area to do a winter pond with maybe some fog on top. And I can see I naturally have where it's light here and then it gets dark. You might have that too. It's where the turquoise met the purple or the lavender. So I think this light part would be a great spot for a water line, and then this darker stuff in here could be fog or it could be shrubs around the pond. The cool thing is if I paint it on and I really don't like it, I can very easily go back and just paint, once it's dry, paint turquoise over the top. So what I want to do, I'm going to use the thin edge of my number 4 brush. You could use your number 8 too, whichever one has got a sharper edge. I don't use the number 4 as much, so it has a sharper edge. And I want to take some water, plop a drop of water down here, and then stir a little white into it. So I'm making a watercolor white. I don't want a super intense opaque white. I want this to be subtle. In fact, I think I'll mix a tiny bit of turquoise in it too, just to make it really icy colored and kind of match the pond itself. Now I'm gonna swipe my brush across the paper towel and then redip the bristles. And
I'm not gonna do it.
Really? This is something I figured you would do.
No, I'm not going to. I like the way my painting looks as it is.
So I'm just going to do a water line that goes across here.
Wow, Linda, thank you so much.
And oh, wow, that's really nice of you. We appreciate that. It's a struggle for sure. Especially as the economy is like not super great, you know, things like this are like a kind of a luxury expense, so we'll just say we don't sell a ton.
No.
Okay, so, and you can see I'm just adding some horizontal lines in here, kind of maybe even make like water rings. Like I know we've done this on other paintings, like kind of flat curves, horizontal flat. And you can leave it like that. By doing the watered down paint with a little bit of turquoise mixed in, it's very, very easy to go back and just cover it with the turquoise again if you didn't like the way it looked. So this is, I'm trying to make it look like it's maybe frozen over. There. Now mine is kind of going downhill a little bit, like it's slanting downhill. I don't mean like my painting's going downhill. I feel like my painting's okay. It's just this, the water is not perfectly straight across, so a lot of times it's just a little bit of adjusting back and forth. And there's other things I probably could have done to make this, like this looks more like it's a river that goes through. If I wanted to make like an actual pond, I could have like made some banks that come along here. Think about Paul's snow globe painting that had the little pond in the middle. You could do the kind of oval shape if you wanted to, but okay, I think I'm good with how it is. So here's how the two look together. My original and the new one with the water in the bottom. So it's up to you what you like better. If maybe this is too distracting, just leave it off. But yeah, are you done with yours?
Yeah.
Let's see how Paul did.
I'm very happy with my Cardinal, actually.
Well, that's good.
Wasn't so keen on the berries. Of all the things, the berries.
Oh, he's cute. He's so chunky.
He's puffed up. It's cold.
Yeah, I like that. And I like the color, the really pale sky like that. I'm tilting yours just because it's got a little bit of a glare. And you can see how different our brush strokes are. So I have a tendency to make really smoothed out snow, and he does his a lot more choppy brush strokes and rough. And neither would be wrong. They're just different. And then your berries are... You did a good job varying the size of your berries, whereas mine are all the same size.
For some reason, the berries were like kind of drove me nuts. I don't know. It's like
it's
like the easiest thing on the whole painting, and it's like
this reading your guys' comments. Oh yeah. Everything is so expensive. Like with the business, the box itself is really expensive. So it's just like the shipping box, having it printed and then you're just left with a small amount of money for the products inside, and everything cuts into the profit. And we don't want to just keep raising prices. I hate doing that.
Yeah, because there becomes a point where it's like, is it worth it to the customer? Perceived value is a big deal.
Yeah. We just need our YouTube subscribers to come on here, subscribe to our channel, follow it, like it, all that good stuff. Click the little bell, get notifications. We do videos between 2 and 4 times a month, I'd say.
Yeah, we're going to Jenny's going to try to do more kids videos.
Yeah, Paul got a great camera that hasn't come in yet, and that's going to set me up better at home. I've been using my iPhone.
We might be able to use it here. I don't know.
Yeah.
I haven't decided yet.
Yeah. Yes, I like how, I like the way you're trees are that you put in like a
Just a
fir
hint.
tree there.
Just a hint.
I like how chunky Paul's Cardinal is too.
I cheated. I looked at a photo.
Oh yeah, okay. So I see why you didn't do the pond. He looks higher in the tree. Yes, yeah. The pond would really crowd Paul's in for sure. Mine definitely looks like we're viewing him at more of a distance. This one's more zoomed in.
I played with the idea. I actually started to smudge some color in, but what I found is the color became distracting.
We've thought about doing that before, Kim, using the cheaper box for veteran subscribers. Next month you might have to have that, but we do like the new box is going to be really fun. One of my employees from years ago when we had the studio.
No, Eric does all of that.
Eric designs he does all the
instruction
sheets that
us.
come in, but he's super excited. I gave him free reign on the box, and he came up with the most amazing idea. He's a freelance graphic designer, and he used to design boxes for Starbucks, so he really knows what he's doing, and I think you guys are going to love the new one.
They're fun.
Yeah. All right, let's go back to let me make sure I'm completely zoomed out. Yeah. It's pretty fun to play
All
with.
right. Go back up here. And here we're back. Hello.
We're back, and we completed another painting. This makes painting 452. No, I don't know how many.
Oh, it's probably more than that. I mean,
Do you think so?
Not in GoBox, but gosh, we gotta be getting pretty close to 500.
Yeah. I donate them to, so a lot of these ones that Paul and I make here, so the originals that we make, we usually save. And then the ones that we paint on the videos, I box them up and I'll donate them to like the Children's Cancer Association. They'll do auctions, different schools. So if that's something you're interested in, you can send me a message on our website and I can put some aside. And it would have you pay the shipping to get them to you like in a box. And on auction, they usually sell for about $15 to $20 each. So it's a great little money maker. And if I have extras on hand, I will usually try to do that.
We've donated a couple thousand of them to Habitat for Humanity over the last few years, and they sell them in their stores, and then they use that money to help
fund their projects.
Yeah.
So that they were so excited. They brought this gigantic truck both times and took 500 from our first move and 500 from our second move, and yeah.
I exaggerated. I said a couple thousand, more like 1,000.
I think it was about 1,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
All
Anyway,
right.
but I mean, that's even just a scratch in the surface of the amount we've hauled to like Goodwill and stuff like that.
A lot of times
over
I
the
get
years.
attached to them and, nostalgia, like, oh, I taught that one so many times. And then we end up with a stack of them, like, we were running out of room. We can't just warehouse these. And
Yeah, I think when we moved out of the last studio, I think we each kept like maybe 2 or 3 that had like, sentimental value or something that, because most of them we can repaint, but some of them were like, yeah, no, I don't want to repaint that one. I really like how the original is. And so anyway.
all right.
Enough of
So
the
next week it will be Thursday because Friday I got to go do the play is opening on Friday and I'll be working hard there. And
So it's Thursday?
Yeah, Thursday, 5:30. And we'll be painting Winterfield. I'm excited for that one.
Yeah, this one's actually fun. I mean, excuse me. Hopefully they're all fun, but this one is actually...
Me to beat you on the back.
Yeah, no, that will not help me at all. This is one I think that looks more complicated than it is.
Oh, thank you, Kim. Yeah, I think I avoided getting the plague from Paul and Hayden by now, and hopefully that'll... We've been making him stay in the other room, though. Greta and I will be watching TV in the family room. It's like, you're going to stay in the living room and just watch your YouTube videos on your phone.
Yeah, that's all I've done.
Yeah. So, good to see you guys again. Love to have all of you on here. Thank you so much for your support. Tell your friends. And you don't have to be a subscriber to get the products. You can always just buy a single kit. We've got these listed. Like if you just want the Cardinal or you just want Winterfield, you can buy those on our website, gobox.com.
Yep, gobox.com. That's where we're at.
Have a good weekend. We'll see you next week.
See you next week, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.